Hi kids, it's your favorite auntie, getting ready to upload another video to our YouTube channel. Today we're going to read a book, and today's book, it's by one of my favorite authors. Her name is Alice Walker. The book is called Finding the Greenstone. In this collaboration with Catherine Dieter, Alice Walker teaches us that love for family and friends brings us the most powerful peace and happiness of all. I hope you discover your greenstone and we could read this together and you can let me know what you think. At the end of this video, I have a little vocabulary test for you. You could give me the answers, or when you call me, I'll ask you and I'll have a special prize for you sent in the mail in your name. So don't forget, stay in touch this summer and let's read. Right at this very time, in a small community on the earth, live a brother and sister who have identical iridescent green stones. The stones shine brightly and are small enough to fit into their hands. The children prize their stones and often play with them, taking them out of their pockets and holding them up to the sun, putting them in the clear waters of the seaside, among the rocks, and plucking them out again, and so on. They are very happy with their stones. But one day, Johnny, the brother, lost his green stone. He looked everywhere for it. Then he looked at his sister Katie's green stone, and because his own stone was missing, he imagined that hers looked bigger and shinier than ever. He thought maybe his green stone had disappeared into hers. "You've stolen my green stone," he said. "No way," said Katie. Johnny frowned at her and tried to grab her green stone, and even the memory of his own stone vanished. As the days passed, Johnny became very dull and sat for hours under the big tree in the center of the community. But Katie never forgot that Johnny had once possessed his very own brightly glowing green stone, exactly like hers. And every day, while he sat under that tree, fuming and casting mean looks at everybody who passed, and sometimes muttering nasty things as well, she brought him her green stone to hold and reminded him that he had once had one too. At first, Johnny liked to play with Katie's stone, because whenever he did so, he felt much better. But then he would remember that it was hers and that he did not have one of his own, and he would become angry. One day, when Johnny was feeling this way, he tried to steal Katie's stone by pretending it was his. "This is my green stone," he cried, clutching it in his fist, not intending to give it back. "Not yours." But as soon as he did that, the stone turned gray in his hand, just like the rocks by the ocean. And when he looked over at Katie again, she had her green stone as bright and shining as ever. Johnny felt sad. He realized that stealing somebody else's green stone would never make it his. Besides, it was lonely under the big tree, and trying to look mean all day was boring. One day, he mustered the courage to talk about his change of heart to Katie, who rarely talked to him now because she was afraid. "I will never try to steal your green stone again," he said to her. "But I miss my own stone so much. Will you help me find it?" At first, Katie didn't know what to do. How could she believe Johnny meant what he said? That he would not try to grab her green stone? "No," she said after a long pause. "I can't help you at all." Johnny's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Katy could see he meant her no harm, but something inside her liked being the powerful one for the change. No, no, she said again, sticking out her chest just as she'd seen Johnny do. But when she said no, the second time, with a new coldness in her heart, her own green stone began to flicker and almost stop shining. Katy glanced at Johnny's sweet, sad face, so like her own, and then her flickering green stone. Being spiteful to her brother would never work. I love you, Johnny, she said quietly. I'm happiest when you have your very own green stone. I will do everything I can to help you find it. The radiance of her stone, when she said this and reached for Johnny's hand, dazzled them both. Johnny and Katy set out on their search, hearts pounding hand in hand. They looked first near old Mr. Roseharp's house. I'm afraid to go up to the porch, said Johnny. Last week, when Mr. Roseharp came by the big tree on his way to the store, I called him a bad name. But old Mr. Roseharp had seen them coming and stood on his porch in his long red nightshirt, a big yellow broom in his hand. He lived alone in a little wooden house painted blue, and all over it there were painted flowers. In some places, you almost couldn't tell where his flower garden ended and his house began. Old Mr. Roseharp looked down at Johnny and Kate expectantly. Katy gave Johnny a nudge in the ribs to help him speak up. She could see that Mr. Roseharp was more sad than angry because of what Johnny had said. Since I called you a bad name, said Johnny, I lost my green stone. Oh no, said old Mr. Roseharp, who knew what a tragedy that was. He immediately tucked his nightshirt into his pants and put down his broom, shaking his head with concern and saying, He came down to where Katy and Johnny stood and began right there in his own yard to help them look. Next, they went into the woods where Johnny and Katy's father was busy loading a big pulpwood truck. Using a noisy machine to lift the cut-up pieces of the trees, he turned it off when he saw them coming. Again, Johnny hung back, and this time he kicked at the ground with his toe. What's the matter? Asked Katy. Last week, I told Daddy I was ashamed of him for being the driver of a stupid pulpwood truck. I hurt his feelings, and I don't know how to tell him I'm sorry. But Johnny's father, Mr. Oakes, looked into Johnny's eyes and saw how sad they were. What's wrong, son? He asked gently, folding Johnny in his large arms. For some reason, being held in his father's arms made Johnny cry and cry. I'm so sorry for what I said about you driving the pulpwood truck, he said through his tears. I know it's the only way you can make a living, the only way you can help Mama feed and clothe us all. Hey, I knew you didn't mean it, said his father. I knew you only said it because you hate what pulpwooding does to the trees. I hate it too. And since I said it, said Johnny, I've lost my green stone. Mr. Oakes whistled in dismay. He'd lost his own stone many times in his life, and each time he had felt terrible. He hugged Johnny and kissed him firmly on the forehead. When Johnny and Katy and old Mr. Roseharp turned away, Mr. Oakes followed them in his truck. Mr. Oakes wore his stone on a thong around his neck. Katy had made an earring of hers, and old Mr. Roseharp wore his on his hat. As they moved along, the stones sparkled and shone. Soon, Katy and Johnny saw their mother coming. Since she was the only doctor in their little community, she was always dressed for work and moving very fast. She was wearing a white pantsuit and carrying her black doctor's bag. Her greenstone was an especially beautiful one, and because she was always in a hurry and changed clothes so often, she carried it for safekeeping in her cheek, which made her look like a mother squirrel carrying a large nut. When she saw everyone coming, she took it out of her cheek and closed her hand around it. It shone so brightly that her fist seemed to have a green light in it. "What's the matter? What's the matter?" their mother asked, kissing Mr. Oaks and Katie and Johnny. She stood tapping her foot as she waited for their reply. Both Katie and Johnny wondered if they should tell her. Their mother was always in such a hurry that telling her things of importance sometimes felt like throwing your heart against the wind. She would cluck over for you about a minute. Then she'd run off to tend to somebody who really needed attention. Johnny had complained to her about this just last week, how she was never around like the other children's mothers, and how he never got hugs and cookies and milk when he came home from school. He wanted another mother entirely from the one he had said. Still, with Katie's warm little fingers urging him on, Johnny said, "It's nothing much." He thought, "She's probably on her way to deliver a baby. For heaven's sake, it's just that I lost my green stone." "You what?" said his mother, dropping her bag, something he'd never seen her do. Johnny thought that his mother knew almost everything, even if she was unusually too busy to say so. "Do you know where it might be?" he asked. "Do you have it?" "I can't keep up with every single thing, Johnny," said his mother, in a voice that sounded like she was tired of trying. "Maybe if you do a better job of cleaning up your room, you wouldn't need help finding your stuff. And no, I do not have your greenstone. I have my own." She picked up her bag, looked at her watch, and placed her own greenstone back in her cheek. "It tastes like copper." She spat it out and looked at it. It was like a small, sickly olive. "Uh-oh," she said. Then she put her arm around Johnny's shoulder. "Listen, son, everybody has his or her own greenstone. You ought to know that by now. Nobody can give it to you, and no one can take it away. Only you can misplace or lose it. And if you've lost it, it's your own fault." Johnny had felt sadder than he ever felt in his life. He thought about his beautiful green stone and how he would probably never see it again, and about how his mother, whom he loved and would never wish to replace with another, always spoke so impatiently. He knew she would not have time to help them look. Without his mother's help, they had no chance at all, Johnny felt. To his surprise, however, his mother took his hand and said, in her fast, leaping over the gatepost voice, "We will get everybody in the community to help look for your greenstone anyway." She smiled over at Mr. Oaks as if seeing them for the first time, even though she'd already kissed him, and he smiled back at her, and they all set off down the road. Before Johnny knew it, he and Katie, Mr. and Dr. Oaks, and old Mr. Roseharp were being followed by Miss Rivers, Johnny and Katie's teacher, Mr. Skies, the minister, and Mr. Birdfield, the shoeshine man. Sonny the paper boy and all of their classmates and friends also came along. There was even a baby crawling after them. "It's a glowing green stone" was the handle of its pacifier. The dog that it was guardian walked beside it. A greenstone glistened in its collar. Johnny felt embarrassed that all these people knew he had lost his greenstone. But Katie went back and picked up the baby, who was almost as large as she was, and then held on to her brother's hand. Johnny looked at his sister, hopeful face, and the baby who seemed so happy to be out strolling with the big people, and tried to keep his chin up for their sakes. Finally, after hours and hours of searching, under doorsteps and orchards and flower beds and even on the cliff, everyone was tired, so they stopped to rest under the big tree. The tree's green stone was one of its millions of fat green leaves. Sometimes it was hard to see, but not today. Today it sparkled brightly, way up high above everybody's head. And this made Johnny sadder still. Tears came again to his eyes. He was not crying just because he had lost the green stone. He knew that because of his hurtful behavior, he deserved to lose it. He was crying because all these people, especially Katie, loved him and were trying to help him find his green stone, even though they knew perfectly well he could only find it for himself. Idly, Johnny picked up a small rock and fondled it. He was puzzled that everyone in his community wanted to help him do something he can only do himself. And in his puzzlement, he began to feel as if a giant bee were buzzing in his chest. It felt exactly as if all the warmth inside of him was trying to rush out to people around him. He noticed that soon as the warmth was inside him touched them, they began to shine. "You all go home," he said to Katie, ashamed to have taken up so much of everyone's time. "You've wasted a whole afternoon. There's no point in helping me look for something that you can't actually help me find." "We wanted to be with you when you found it," said Katie, softly wiping Johnny's tears away with her sleeve. And sure enough, when Johnny followed Katie's gaze and looked down in his hand, what did he see? Not the dull, lifeless rock that he thought he was holding, but his very own bright green stone. Johnny jumped up and began to dance around the tree, and all the people, his mother and father, old Mr. Roseharp, his teacher and minister, and the shoeshine man and the paper boy, and Katie, returned the smile he gave them. They welcomed the rising of a bright green sun in his heart, which they knew was Johnny's love for them. Its warm light overflowing, the small brown fingers clutched close to his chest. The end. Now it's my favorite part of the story. We get to do a game. This game is a vocabulary test, and if you get the answers right, I'll send you a prize. That's right to your house. I'll send the direct prize to you for participating in my little game. So, in about 5 seconds, we're going to count down and start the vocabulary. Now, just to warn you, it is going to be a little tough. So if you have any questions, feel free to call Cousin Mika, ask Mommy, or even your big brother. I'm sure we all have a way to be able to answer those questions for you. We want you to be strong, we want you to be bright, and we want you to shine. So feel free to keep us in the loop because this is your time to shine. I look forward to seeing what you score in your test. Until next time, love you.
Congratulations and jubilations. I want the world to know I'm happy as can be.
Hi kids, it's your favorite auntie getting ready to upload another video to our YouTube channel. That way we can stay in touch, read together, and play together all summer long. Now, I went on ahead and went to the library and grabbed some books. I'll make sure to post the titles and the authors so you can grab them yourself and we can read them together. And because I love golf, that's my favorite sport, in the summer, I want us to read also